Neovim IDE. It's an IDE or code editor that sits in your terminal. And it's very fast, lightweight, allows for a lot of customization and control, so you can personalize it however you like. And it's based on the popular Vim editor. So for those who don't know Vim, let me quickly show you. So Vim comes prepackaged in macOS and also some Linux distributions, and it looks like this. It's an editor that is freely distributed, it's open source, but it's hard to be used as a integrated development environment or an IDE. So what we would do is use Neovim. It's built on the Vim editor that you see here and extends it by a lot more features and functionalities. So before we get to anything, I would like to start off by showing you how to exit Vim, which will also be relevant for Neovim. You press escape, type a colon, Q, and in some cases you would also put this exclamation mark. And as shown here, this is how you exit. And this is important. Why? Because a lot of people who start using Vim get stuck. And there is also a Stack Overflow blog which tells you that there are 1 million developers who asked this question or looked for an answer of how to exit Vim. There is a popular Stack Overflow question which is viewed more than 3 million times, and it lists all the different ways you can quit Vim. So what I showed you is these two. There could also be other options, but just so you know, before we get to anything around Vim, you need to know how to exit this. If you can't remember, write it down, because you will be stuck if you don't know it. And on top of Neovim, what NvChad provides is a lot of default configurations and a very beautiful UI, which allows you to get up and running very quickly. And we would install all of these today. To get started, let's go to the install section. And there are a few prerequisites that are mentioned that are required before we can use NvChad's custom themes and UI. So first step, we need to install Neovim. Let's go to the Neovim installer. So it's a bit involved as we are working on setting up an IDE in the terminal. We need to be familiar with using the terminal. So a lot of these commands needs to be written in your terminal. For us today, I'm looking at the macOS, ARM configured macOS, or the M1 macOS. So I would need to search for this particular tar zip. There is one here which says Nvim macOS, and I need to download this. So it's downloading. I need to run this first after it's downloaded. Okay, so I can see that it's downloaded. It's in the download section. So what I need is to go to the download section and type this command. So let's go to the terminal, go to downloads and type this. So this has run, and now I need to extract this tar zip file. So I run this command, it will run some extraction, and it has completed. And now I can just open it up using this command. And that's it. Instead of Vim, what you see here is Nvim, which looks pretty similar. There is nothing different here, except this allows a lot of customizations, which we will apply soon. Like I showed you before, the way to exit Nvim is to press colon, Q, exclamation marks, and enter. So we have Nvim installed. Next up is to get through the other prerequisites. We would use Nerd font, which is a big collection of a lot of icons from different sources, and this allows us to show icons for different file types or extensions that you would be using in your coding. And besides that, we also have a lot of good source code relevant fonts, which shows the source code in the best possible way. And to install it, what you need is just download this. So I'll download this Proto Nerd font, and it's downloading as well. While it's downloading, I would continue on with the next step. So what we need is this rip grep. It is optional, but this helps for searching text in different files, and it's a very fast, lightweight, Rust-based search tool, and it shows you a lot of these examples of how to use it. Let's get directly to how to install it. You can read up about these details if you're interested, and I would get to. So we can install it using Brew. If you don't have Brew, I have showed previously how to install Brew. You can check it in the video here. So ripgrep with Brew. So Protos, let me just open it up, and I would try to install these fonts. Proto, and you can see it here. So that's done. And Homebrew, it's auto updating, so could take a while, but I'll let it run. Okay, so ripgrep is already installed. I didn't need to install it, so that's cool. So we're done with this, and since we are not on a Windows system, we don't need this, and since we don't have an existing Neovim installation, we also don't worry about this. Next up is the interesting part. We need to copy this command, the whole thing, and then run it for a Linux or a Mac system. Let me do that. So I clear my screen first, and then so it will clone the NvChad starter kit, and it will open Neovim. And as we can see, it has opened Neovim, and it's trying to install some packages. So this is what Neovim brings. It allows you to configure your IDE with different packages. A lot of these packages that are getting installed are coming by default with NvChad. This would make our whole IDE experience very different. Cool. So as you can see, it installed all these packages, around 27 packages, and the whole theme changed because the default theme is this in NVim. You can press Q to exit. You're in Neovim. You can see that the fonts are not installed properly. We need to check what's wrong, but let's for now exit, and to exit press :Q. You're out. Good fonts to work. I was using iTerm, and in the settings I need to edit the fonts that I use. So go to profiles, text, and here we can search this Proto Nerd font that we installed, and make sure to check use ligatures, because this is what would help you with all these icons and the cursive fonts in some of these code keywords. So with that said, the font looks a bit different, but when we go to NVim, you can see that all of these icons are present here now. And now with that solved, let's head on over to the next step. So it asks us to install run Mason install. So maybe you should do that. So to run Mason install, Mason install all. So it's installing the Lua language server. Okay, so it's completed installation. And just to show you, if you use other languages like Python, JavaScript, what you can do is you can go to any of these sections, and the way to go to them is to press this number 2, 3, 4, 5, and here you can scroll down using your arrow keys and look for Python. So we have a Python LSP server, we have Pyrite. I would go with Python LSP server, and to install you need to press the I key. You go up, you can see that it's installing the Python LSP server. And similarly, if you need linters and formatters, you can also install them. So you can also install this with the I command. So Pylint was successfully installed. You know the drill. To exit this window, press Q, and to exit the Nvim, press :Q and exclamation mark. So we have installed Neovim. We can explore Neovim on a file that I have. So I have a shooter project that I built using Crush. You can see here if you want to set it up. It's also in the terminal. It's an AI-based coding agent. So that has a few files, as you can see here. And we can open it up in Neovim and see how it looks like. So this is Neovim. It's empty. But if you want to get to Explorer, what we need to do is space and E. Space and E opens up this Explorer window. And since it's a terminal IDE, everything is going to be with keyboard shortcuts. And you can scroll up and down this list using arrow keys. You can open up any of these files by pressing enter. It opens up this file with the syntax highlighting. If you see, we have the tiny icons for each of these files, which comes with our node fonts. And here you can edit any of these things. To insert anything inside this Neovim code, you need to press I. So you need to get to the insert mode. And as you can see at the bottom, it's now in the insert mode. And the cursor style changed to a vertical line you can now edit. So I can add a div. And this is where Neovim shines. Gives you in-code hints like this. So you could use different snippets that are pre-made for you. And you can see how this snippet looks like here. So this is a basic div. And if you want to scroll through this, you can press the tab command. And this shows you that this is a div with a class. This is a div with an ID. This is a div with a class and an ID. So you can select all of these snippets, and then it helps you speed up your development process. So as you can see, it opened up the div and directly went into the class section. So if I press my button and then press tab, it directly goes into the ID for me to fill button 1. And then if I press tab, it directly goes inside this div for me to edit. So you can imagine how this would speed up your development workflow if you just have to press tab to directly go to these sections. This is editing using Neovim. Let's look at some other files. So this is how a JavaScript file looks like. And you can scroll through this using your mouse, or you can use the Vim shortcuts like K for going up, J for going down, L for going right, and H for going left. These are keys that are very close together in your keyboard, and once you get the hang of it, it's quite fast to use these and go up and down. Imagine you're writing a file and you need to use terminal. So Neovim provides you with a lot of shortcuts, and the shortcuts can be toggled if you press the spacebar command. These are all the shortcuts that you have, and we have already seen one of them, that is the Nvim tree focus. This is the spacebar E that lets us focus to this Nvim tree here. And let's go look at some other keywords like the terminal. So if you want a terminal, H, spacebar H opens up a new horizontal terminal. Spacebar V opens up a new vertical terminal. So let's try one of these. So spacebar H opens up a terminal here that you can use for writing commands, executing things. And if you want a vertical terminal, you can just press spacebar V. So you can quickly arrange your setup in the way that you like to work, and you're not restricted by the IDE on what it allows for you to set up. So you can have multiple terminals, you can have multiple things showing different data. So it's for you to customize any way you like. And so we have already toggled the line numbers, but if you prefer not to see them, you can also press spacebar N to remove them. And an interesting thing that is very handy is to comment out code. So if you have used other IDEs, you might have already seen this. If I want to comment out a block of code or a line of code, I can press spacebar and this / command to toggle the comment for this line. So now it's commented. If I type space and / again, it's uncommented. And you can also do that for a block. To select a block of code in Vim, you need to enter the visual mode, and you can enter the visual mode by pressing V, and now you're in the visual mode. And now if we use our arrow keys to go up and down, you can select a block of code. And now to comment this block, just press spacebar and /. So this is commented out the whole block. You can uncomment it again using this. So we have seen how to comment, we have seen how to open terminals. Now let's see how to close this tab or this particular code file. So there are two different code files that we opened. You can also use a mouse to go between them, or you can use the tab key to switch between them, which is quite handy when you are working on a keyboard, and you can quickly move to another file. To close a file, you can press spacebar and X. That closes. Here it asks me whether I want to save. No. And to open a file searcher, we can also search for files. So let's say I want to open this game.js, but there are a lot of files can't scroll through my list. So what I can do is press space and F and F. So F opens up a sub menu with a new set of commands, spacebar F, and there are a lot of these sub commands that we can choose from to find files, which is you want to find all the files, find the buffers. Buffers are these codes files that are open. We can also find files. This is the most common one, and there is also a live grep that we can try later, which is to search for particular words within files. So let's go to this find files first, and this is the find files. To find the file, we can either go through this list by using your arrow keys, and in this case it shows you a preview of what these files are, which you can also scroll through using a mouse, or you can also type what you need. If you have a lot of files and it's hard for you to scroll through this, you can just type and then press enter to open up that file. Now let's see if I want to search for a particular shoot function in my code base. I want to see where it's used. I can just find or press spacebar F to get to this menu. It's also shown here what I'm pressing, and press W to get into this telescope live grep. And here if I type shoot, it shows me all instances of shoot that are in this particular project, and I can go through them to see where shoot function is defined and also where it is used. In this case it's used here, so let me get to that particular section. And if you see, the cursor is directly on the shoot function. So this is very quick to loop through different sections of code, find usages of functions, edit them, go back and forth. It's pretty easy. So if I want to go to hit player and where it's used, I can just hit player. It's here where it's used. I can just go here, and this is where hit player is used. So this is how you can quickly look for what's in your file using the spacebar FW, which is a telescope live grep. And this is why we installed the rig grep. If you see this, we installed this particular package to be able to search these things quickly. Let's move on. So there are a lot of these commands that you can try out. For example, let's look at what C holds. So if you see, there is a cheat sheet that is available to us by pressing spacebar C and then H. Some of these things that we already looked at, like how can we focus the window on NvChad, which is leader E. Leader in this case is spacebar. And how to comment, it's using leader backslash. So there are also other things that we saw, like how to toggle the line numbers using leader N. We can also toggle relative line numbers, which is using leader RN. So let's quickly look at that. So leader RN toggles relative numbers. So the numbers or the line numbers are shown relative to your current line. Now if I go to another file, let's continue. So we looked at C, which is cheat sheet. And we can also look at git commits using CM. It's not a git directory, so let's initialize this git directory first. And now it's a git directory. It's good. And if I do spacebar C, M shows me the git commits. Currently I don't have any git commits, so it's empty. So we can also see the status, git status of this project by pressing space G and T. It tells us all the files that are not committed. So this is a git diff preview of all the files that are not committed yet. Let me try to make a commit. So I see the git status, which shows that all these files have been added. And another thing that's very interesting that you could do is to change your theme for this particular view. Open this up. So here you can scroll through different themes to see how it looks like. So we are looking through light themes, dark themes. You can see how it looks. There are a lot of different themes that you can scroll through. Let me go with this. I like this theme, and it looks pretty bright for both JavaScript, HTML. There are quite a lot of things you could do with Neovim, and there is a big community around Neovim and NvChad, so explore and comment below if you'd like me to do more videos about Neovim, if you're interested. And reminder again, to exit Neovim, press colon, Q, and exclamation, and out of Neovim.